What's up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight to tell you another lake breakdown, but this time we're going to stay on the power plant side. We went and did Squaw Creek last week. This week, we're going to go down and take a look at Martin Creek. Let's go see what we can find. As I mentioned in the introduction, we're breaking down Martin Creek Lake today. This is a power plant lake that's owned by Luminant Energy, but there's actually a state park there, Martin Creek Lake State Park, where you can launch and do some fishing. So let's talk about where it's at. Location is in Rusk County on Martin Creek, 3 miles southwest of Tantum on Texas Highway 43. This is a pretty small lake. Surface acres are only 4,981 acres. The maximum depth is only 35 feet, and this was impounded in 1974 to provide cooling water for a power plant. So not too many of these power plant lakes left. You guys heard me talk about it last week. We were talking about Squaw Creek. So we've got Squaw, Welsh, Martin, and Brandy Branch. And I think that's the only ones I know of that are at least close enough in my vicinity in the DFW area that are still active. So let's keep moving down. Current lake level, you can click on that to see what it is. Conservation pool is 306. The fluctuation is pretty moderate, 1 to 4. You're going to see that in the Google Earth breakdown where the water just really didn't fluctuate very much. But the good news is back in 2011, not sure what was going on in that time frame, but the lake got very dry and exposed a lot of things. So we're going to go back and take a look at that. That's where we're going to find a lot of our hot spots. Then we're going to move on down. Aquatic vegetation, it says very little, but I'm not sure. I guess it just means there's not a lot of hydrilla and stuff. Now, I don't know if there is or not. I've never fished this lake, but I can tell there's definitely a lot of lily pads and things like that based on what I'm seeing on the Google Earth side. So, and I've also heard that this lake is a pretty good lake to go fish. Predominant fish species, largemouth bass, catfish, crappie, and sunfish. We click here to look at the lake records. The lake record for a largemouth bass was 12.56 pounds. That was back in 1995. I'm sure there's still some big ones out there running around. You can also click on here, look at the current fishing reports, all of that good stuff. Not too many. There are lake maps available, it says, at the state park, but I'm getting ready to show you here the good stuff, so we don't really need that. We move on down to angling opportunities. It does say largemouth bass is good. Catfish is excellent. Crappie is fair, and sunfish is good as well. One thing that I really want to point out here is under tips and tactics. It says that typically the largemouth bass will start spawning on this lake about 2 months earlier than compared to other nearby reservoirs. So that basically means that they're spawning right now. It's 12/31. It's New Year's Eve, and they're definitely spawning at this time. So definitely go out there and take a look at this lake. This one's a really cool one. Let's switch over to Google Earth and let's show you what I found. Let's go ahead and move on in here to Martin Creek. So if you didn't understand what I was talking about as far as the location for Martin Creek and where it was at, it is southeast of Dallas. So it's just south and east of Longview, Texas. We're going to zoom in here, show you a little bit about this lake. Let's get it here on the screen. Let's start first by going over on the left-hand side. I've got this broken down by a couple different things. First off, there's not a ton of ramps on this lake. There's actually one. So I've got that marked for you. We've also got channels and ditches. These are the different tracks that you see here. This is huge when you're out here fishing and you want to stay in the creek channel or fish around the creek channel. Knowing exactly where that creek channel is absolutely critical. And with these tracks, it's going to put you right on top of those channels as well as those ditches that are out there as well. We've also got, you can see all the different channels there as well. We've also got different kinds of cover, whether it be different types of beds. I can't tell what kind of beds they are. They could even be carp beds. I have no idea, but a couple different areas where I did see some beds. We do have some bridges, some brush, some laydown, some debris, a little bit of rock, some saddles around some islands and things like that, as well as some stumps and some timber and debris and laydowns, junk like that. So we have all that marked for you. And then last but not least, we have all of the offshore hotspots marked as well. Now, this one was interesting because when I went out and looked at it on Navionics, based on what I was able to find on Google Earth, my points pretty much matched up. So I only had a couple new points to add via Navionics. So instead of what we usually do is we'll go through the Texas Park and Wildlife fishing page, which we just did. Then we'll move over here to Google Earth, and then we'll move over to Navionics. We won't do the Navionics on this one because everything is on Navionics. We're able to see right here on Google Earth. And the reason for that is that when I move this lake down, kind of follow me here. I'm coming from 2021. I'm going to take it all the way back to 2011. And when I do that, it exposes almost every offshore spot that I was able to find on Navionics. So pretty much we can look at it all right here in Google Earth and get a really good picture of this lake. So let's go ahead and move this over to the left. And we're going to zoom in here. We're going to start at the dam, and then we're going to work our way down the east side, northeast side. We'll come down here. We'll work our way all the way down, then we'll work our way back. So let's go ahead and just start right here. We're going to start right at the dam. And when you get right here by the dam, there's a couple things that I really like. One, if you get right off the tip of this right in here, it appears there may be a little bit of, possibly a little bit of rock and stuff like that right in there. But either way, you've got a great ledge here with a great little point. So definitely a good spot to fish. Really anywhere in this area is probably going to be a pretty good area to fish. And then as we move over here, there's a nice little ditch that comes through here that they could definitely collect on those ditches for sure. And then you've got a really nice point that comes out here as well. Now, let me show you what this looks like when the water's up. I'm going to take it back to 2021. You're going to have no idea that there's a point right here. And you're going to have no idea that there's a ditch right there either. So that's where these things can really come into handy. That old point that we were looking at right there, you're going to think that it's up here, but it's actually way out here. So that's where these things can really come in handy. So let's go ahead and move back to 2011. Let's keep going down and see what we could find. I didn't see too much back here. You do have the main boat ramp that's back here. Obviously, you don't want to fish around that because there's going to be a lot of people in there, but there's really just nothing. This is just a huge flat that's back here. There's really nothing really that I could see that really stood out to me. Now, you do have some pretty decent little points out here, that you could check out, but I did like this area back in here, over here by the fishing pier. First spot's going to be right here. You got a nice little hump with a good break right in here. Got a nice little, believe there's like a little bit of a channel or something right in there, but it wasn't anything too spectacular. You've also got a hump that's right here. And then if we zoom in here, we've got this little laydown that's right here, but we also got, I don't know what this is. You've got a little bit of it here as well. I'd fish this whole spot right in here around this hump. And then, obviously the hump too, but that spot right in there. You've also got a brush pile back in here just to the left of the fishing pier there. Again, if we move this up to 2021, this looks totally different. You're not going to know that all that stuff was there. So just beware when you're out here. I believe there's some markers here to let you know there's a very shallow area here. But, looking at that laydown's pretty far out there. That brush pile is pretty much out in the middle of the channel. And that rock and stuff I was telling you about that was out here, that's not even, you wouldn't even know that was there. So let's move back to 2011. Let's keep going. And let's move over here a little bit further. Now here, I didn't see too many, there's not that many laydowns here on this lake that I could really draw for you. But when I did see them and they were big enough to see on satellite, that means they're pretty good size. So I've got one there. And then also right here, I just wanted you to check this. I couldn't tell what this was. It looked like it was maybe a mini rock pile or a mini brush pile. I couldn't tell what it was, but go over there and check it. And then as you move further back here, this is where it starts getting kind of juicy. You've got a really nice point that's right here. Now, one thing to notice, and I haven't even brought it up yet, but I do want to bring it up, is notice all the trees that are here. This lake is very difficult to navigate if you don't know where you're going. The good news is I've partnered up with Tom Main, and we now have boat lanes for this lake. So you can go out to our website, simplisticfishing.com, go to categories, select boat lanes, and find Martin Creek. And there you'll be able to get the boat lanes for this lake. It will definitely make the fishing adventure much better. You take that with the boat lanes, plus you put all these waypoints in here, and you've got a pretty good idea of where you need to go on the lake and where the safe places are to travel. So definitely go check that out. Let's keep moving up. We've got the point here. We've got more channels that are up here, and this is where pulling this water down makes a huge difference. You got some pretty good, I know there's a lot of laydowns, so don't say, well, why'd you just mark those? But the reason why I did was because these are giants. So that's a giant laydown. That's two giant trees right there laying down. Now look at the creek channel here too. This creek channel looks really juicy. And so I've marked it for you guys. So that way, when the water comes back up and you're wanting to get back here and actually fish the main creek channel, like let's say this one right here, where most people are going to be beating around the bank, you want to stay close to that creek channel, especially when you get back in these areas like this. So you have this track that tells you where it's at. You come back here in 2021, and when you're out here fishing what appears to be the middle of the lake, people think you're crazy, but you're out here catching donkeys because you're out here where the fish are in the creek channel. So that definitely is something you want to take advantage of. Can't stress that enough. Creek channels are huge. Moving down here, we come through the point. We also have a couple more or another creek channel back in here that looks really good. You can see here that one's got some pretty good definition to it. You got a couple laydowns that are over here that kind of caught my attention. Looks like it might be a brush pile or something they put out here. I don't know if this could be a potential boat ramp. Can't tell if it's a boat ramp or a fishing pier. It's probably just a fishing pier. But anyways, pretty big pile right there that you could go take a look at. Let's zoom this back up to 2021. Yeah, that is not a boat ramp. That's like a fishing pier. So just outside that fishing pier, not pretty far outside, but there's a pretty big pile of laydowns. Conveniently, here's that creek channel. Looks super cool. I showed you that other creek channel. I love these lakes when I can pull the water down that much because it just makes a huge, huge difference. So let's go back to 2011 and let's look at this right in here. So obviously, this point would probably be pretty good too, just because of the way it sets up. But I like this side. I liked how it's set up. So definitely fish right in there if you're allowed to. It looks like you can. You just can't get right up against that. Then we're going to move on up in here. Move a little bit further down. There's a decent little point that's right here. I like this point, one, because it looks like it has some cover on it, like some rock or something like that. See these little black dots? I don't know if those are stumps or rocks or what they are. I can see that being a pretty decent little area right there. Also, you've got a couple more points back in here. You've got a nice little point right here. Really like that one. That one actually has a little bit of cover on it too. If I zoom in here, you'll see it. I don't know if it's a big stump or what it is, but it looks pretty decent. Moving down here, you've got a pretty big laydown that's here as well. You've got a couple more points there over here. Now notice these points, how, like, look at this point here especially. Notice how the color changes. So it's just off the edge of that point where that color changes. That's like, a mini transition area. So those are really good points. This could be a good point too, right in there. And then moving on up, didn't see too much until I got up here. There's a pretty decent little hump here. Look at the cover on this hump too. There's lots of vegetation on it and stuff like that. So there's going to be something there when the water gets back up to full pool, or where it's at right now in 2021. I don't know if this is full pool, but definitely at a higher level, that hump basically disappears. And so that's going to be a good hump to fish around. This point out here is going to be a good point to fish around too. Let's draw this back to 2011. Get you back where we need to be. That point comes out really good, like I talked about. Also out here, I really liked this spot. You got like a really high spot right here that has rock on it. Now that's a transom, basically killer right there if the water's down, but really good place to go trying to find fish. So if I move that back out to 2021, you have no idea that rock is there again. But if you go out there, in 2011, you definitely know it's there. So you want to go look at that. That also showed up on the contour maps as well. It was one of those places that I marked on Navionics and then came back here to see if it was the same. Now, back here by this bridge, this point looks really good. So fishing around this point, coming around, obviously fishing around the bridges is always good. There's not a lot around these bridges like rock and stuff. It's more that concrete slab. I don't have as much success on that stuff as I do with riprap, but we'll still have success because it's a bridge. So definitely go fish around there. Then moving over here, we've got a point that comes out, pretty long, flat point. I like the way this one sets up. Moving down through here, we've also got a little bit of a point right here that comes off that could be interesting. This looks like it could be an old pond too, possibly, but maybe just fishing right around in that spot. And then back here, you've got some riprap and debris and stuff like that you could fish around if the water's up high enough. Some pretty shallow rock that maybe they would be attracted to, and possibly a ditch in here somewhere that may have some fish that are collecting there as well. Again, if I move this up to 2021, you can see it looks completely different. That rock is not even exposed. You wouldn't even know that it was there. So definitely go look at that. Now let's move back here. I'm going to zoom out. We came down from the dam. We went through here. We went over the main point, and we're right in here. So I'm going to bring this back to 2011. And we're going to move our way down. Now this island, from an offshore standpoint, definitely, go out and fish around and see what you can find around it. See if there's anything, spectacular out there that you can get onto. There's obviously a lot of standing timber on this side. Looks like there might be a little bit of a weed line on this side as well. And again, if we pull it up to 2021, you can tell there's an island there. It is exposed, but maybe, right around here off the outside edges of this stuff could be good. I just really don't know. So didn't mark anything there because I didn't see anything like a rock pile or anything like that that stood out on that island. But I definitely do like the fact that you see this shade right here. There's some type of a lip right here of some sort. So definitely go and check it out. And you got a pretty good little pinch point right in here as well. All right, so enough of that one. Let's keep moving down. Some more points that are in here. We've got some rock that's on the outside of this point. You don't see this very much on this lake, but look at this rock that's right off the edge of this point. Looks juicy. That'd probably be a primo spot that I would want to go to. Hopefully the boat lanes would take me right there. We've also got some points here as well. Another point. I don't know if this one had some rock on it, but potential rock. Couldn't tell. Something's different here because it's a different color, but definitely looking there. And then you have some really good riprap right here. This is way better than this stuff over here. So this riprap is really good. So definitely fishing around that riprap. Then we're going to come down here where it says Dry Creek. And when we move in here, there's some massive brush piles that are back here. So here's one of them. And here's another one right here. Again, moving that up high, moving that back to where the water is. This is 9 of 2021. Those brush piles are pretty far out there in the water. I mean, that's a pretty good distance from the bank. So go look at those. Those could be crappie heavens as well as bass heavens too. So definitely go look in there. Moving down, we've got another one of those piles. Just these giant brush piles that are in there. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if they're just wash up in those areas or if people actually put them there. But they're good places to go look for fish. And then we're going to move down. We're getting down here into, I believe it said Weir Creek. We're going to move down. We've got a pretty decent little point right here that you could fish around. I didn't see any rock on it like I did that one, but definitely a spot you could check out. It sets up pretty well. Then moving over here, I like these 2 points right here coming into this entryway. These just look good. They got good drops on them. This one looks good as well. So fishing in here and fishing around in there. It's going to be good spots. You could also come out here and just check the little edges of these too. Just see where they're located for the day. And then if we move up in to this little area, we get up here. I didn't see too much. There's obviously tons and tons of timber and stuff, so make sure to get the boat lanes. But moving over here, big, huge pile right there and a giant pile right there as well. And then you see these little dots. I don't know if those are lily pads that are underneath there causing those or if those are beds. But anytime you see these, usually it's either beds or lily pads. But you've got lily pads plus you've got the cover. I just really like those areas for sure. Moving up here, we're getting into more of the output area. Anytime you can get here, this is huge because this is where all the warm water is coming from. So definitely where you'd want to be come wintertime. And this area sets up really, really cool. In 2011, you look at it, you're like, that's interesting. When I pull this up to 2021, it's going to look completely different. So pay close attention to what this looks like right here in front of you, because when you go out there, it's going to be important that you kind of understand what's going on below the boat. So as we have this little channel that comes out here, obviously this point's going to be good. They're going to set up on these points, ambush bait, stuff like that. Those are going to be good points. There's a little bitty point right here too that could be good. But then look at this pond dam. This pond dam is awesome. It's right here. It's really close to the outputs. You're going to have a lot of warm water here, a lot of fish here, a lot of bait fish and things like that. This whole area is going to be a really good area to fish around. And then if you zoom in here, you'll notice all those little circles again. I can't tell if those are beds or not. I put beds back in here. I don't know what kind of beds they would be, but I definitely put beds back in there. I don't know if they have tilapia in here. I know they had tilapia in Squaw Creek, but those aren't as big as the tilapia beds. Maybe those are just, maybe those aren't beds. Maybe that is just from the lily pads. I'm not sure. But either way, anytime you see those dots, you go fish around. They're usually good places because they're lily pads, they're great. And if they're beds, they're great as well. So you're kind of win-win no matter what they are. But definitely go look at that. But now I'm going to zoom this back. We're going to pull this back to 2021. And I'm going to show you why that looks so much different. So now you don't have that same visual that you had just before. It was really clear where the channel came, where those points were, where the dam was, and now it's just all scattered around everywhere. So this, again, gives you a really clear picture of what's going on. Moving back to 2011, we're going to keep moving down. Didn't see too much back in here. There is a little ditch that comes through here. You can see and I've marked it. It's a pretty tight little ditch, so tight that the mark almost takes up the whole entire ditch. But those ditches can be really good. Also, look right here, like a little mini pond, something like that going on. Then moving down here, we're going to get underneath the dam. When we get underneath here, underneath the bridge here, be super, super careful because you can see here, this is the old bridge. And this obviously is the new one. And this would definitely not be a place where you'd want to hit your lower units. You want to be extremely careful there, but that looks like a great place to fish. Having that funnel there is huge. And then having that cover right in the middle of the funnel, all of that is just magical. That would be a great place to fish. And then as you come back in here, you've got some debris that's up here that I couldn't tell what this was. It's like a little pile that was up here all isolated. That wasn't really what caught my attention. What caught my attention was this awesome creek channel that comes all the way back through here with some really good bends and turns on it and all kinds of good stuff. So you could spend a day just fishing around that creek channel. Again, move that water up, it's going to look a lot different. That bridge, you wouldn't even know it was there. So you got to be super careful there. That debris looks like it's a lot farther out now. And then this creek channel is, it's in deep enough water definitely to take advantage of. So you definitely want to go out there and look around that area. Moving this back to 2011, let's come out of here. We talked about these points. We're going to move down. We've got some more really good looking creek channels down here. You can see them all. The main one is right here. So I marked it. But then you also had like some little secondary ones that spun off that left some pretty good little contours to go fish around. So I've tried to mark all of those for you as well. And then right in the middle of all that stuff, there's like an old road. Looks like it's going right by that power line on the right side of the south side of it. So maybe fishing around or scanning around those power lines and just seeing what you can find in those areas, that could be productive too. And then if we move over here, we've also got a little hump that comes out just out in the middle of nowhere right here. Again, zoom this up to 2021. That hump's not as noticeable. The road's definitely not noticeable in those creek channels. They don't get noticeable probably until, I don't know, you probably have to get way back here in the cover and maybe get lucky and start to pick it up like right in here. So take advantage of those tracks for sure. Moving up here, we've also got some more ditches and things coming over here. Again, let's look at it. This is 2021. We're going to bring it back to 2011. And then now you're going to see how this is all exposed. You've got a pretty good channel that comes right here. And you got another one. I don't even know where this was coming from. But you got another one, pretty good one that's coming right here. And the thing I like about this one is it's lined with trees, which most of them will be. But this one's lined pretty well with a straight line of trees. You can just really fish around all those stumps and the standing timber, all that good stuff. Might be able to have a heyday there. Moving on up, we've got some more points to take a look at. This is a pretty good little hump or point or whatever you want to call it that expands pretty far out here. So definitely take a look at that. And then also don't forget to fish around the saddles too. You've got an old roadbed right here. Couldn't tell if there was any rock or anything around it, but I would definitely go and scan in this area just to see if there's any rock down there. And then moving on up here, another point that comes out. This one looks pretty good. You've got another decent one that's right here too. Notice how flat these are on the top. These are really good feeding areas for those fish. Then moving here, obviously fishing around the bridges. I've always talked about that. But this creek channel is pretty well straight. I mean, you come right through here and you just come straight back. But this could be, good spawning area, stuff like that. It's very well protected. Hopefully you can get back in there. Hopefully it's deep enough, but very well protected. When you get back in here, you can see that creek channel kind of disappears now that we're in where the lake's up a lot higher. We come out here, there's actually a hump that's way out here and some additional cover. It's out here in the middle. Draw this back to 2011 again. And now you can see it looks completely different. A little bit of a pinch point right in here. So maybe looking right in here. But the main thing I liked here was out here. I like this little hump that comes out here. Then I like this area over here where we've got this cover. But this whole spot right in here could probably be productive. They may roam all around here, get on the edges of this stuff, get over here, get here. They can move around. So just this whole spot right in here would be a good area to go scan around, especially if you're wanting to do the offshore stuff. Then moving over here, we've also got a point with some pretty good timber. Or no timber. Thought it was timber. Just a pretty good point. And then we got the bridge. So you could come underneath that bridge. And when we get back here, here's where those beds and things are again. Not really any good creek channels back here. There's maybe a decent one right there, but wasn't much there to see. But there's this pump out that's right here. And when you get outside of the pump out, this is where you start seeing all those beds again. So again, don't know if those are beds or if those are lily pads. They don't look like lily pads. They're pretty far out here. So they would definitely be a place that I would go look at and see what in the world that is. You can see it's all right here, right around this pump out. Then we're going to move up here. We're going to get in here to this little area. We got some pretty good little stumps that are right here off this point. So I can see them collecting around there. You've also got some laydowns that are right there too. Then we're going to move up. We've also got another point that's right in there that you could check. And then a little bit of a hump that's out here. This one would be interesting to fish around. If I move that water up again, you don't even know that this hump is here. So you know that's going to be a good one. It's got plenty of water on it. So definitely go look at that one, and then look at this point that's out here too. This one comes out pretty good and has some pretty good breaks off the side of it too. So I'm going to zoom back. We're almost done. We're up here to the dam. Let's move up. This little pocket, not too much in there. There is a pretty good little creek channel that comes here. Problem is you can't get past there. But maybe fishing, getting up against those buoys and fishing around in this area could be worth it. And then this point too looks pretty good as well. And then we're going to move up. That takes us back up to where we started, and that was right there at the dam where those offshore spots were, where we talked about those breaks. Guys, this looks like a really, really cool lake to fish. Definitely a little bit of a drive if you're coming from DFW, but if you live in East Texas, you definitely want to go check it out. They got all kinds of cool things that we could go look at on this lake, so make sure to go out to simplisticfishing.com, go to categories, select boat lanes, get the boat lanes for Martin Creek, get your fishing waypoints, whether you get the digital files or the SD card for Martin Creek. Once you do that, you'll be completely set to go out there and have a very successful day. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying these breakdowns. Please make sure to go out and check out our site, simplisticfishing.com. Check out our sponsor, omniafishing.com. The link is in the description. And until next time, guys, I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.